Now we're actually going to start the programming of the dig game. So the first thing that we are going to need is this will require some randomization. So we're going to need to include the time library. And then the next thing is we'll start it with, after the just sort of description of what the program is doing, we'll do an srand time null line, just so that we spin that first random number. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to include our variables for this. So we're going to have int shovels, and we're going to start the base amount of shovels that the user is going to have is going to be 2. Int sandwiches, the user is going to have 5 sandwiches. Int money, we'll have 10 coins at the beginning. Int days, we will start at 0 days before the first loop begins, and then we're going to have a character for the choice, and this is going to be whether or not to shop. Okay, so now we're going to start creating the program. So the first thing is we're going to display the instructions for the program. So what better way to do this than with an instructions function. Okay, so this one just has the purpose of displaying information. It's on a line by itself, so we know that this is going to be a void function, and we don't need to send any arguments here because it is going to run the exact same way no matter what. So go above int main, and we can include our instructions function here. So void instructions. So we'll have a bunch of cout lines, so this might be a little bit long here. So we're going to start with welcome to the dig. So this will also help you maybe understand the rules of what we're going to be doing a little bit better. So we'll see out in this game, you will try to last as many days as possible digging. The next line, you will have to stop digging when you run out of sandwiches or shovels. Cout. You will eat. Sorry, I'm going to start this with each day, comma, that's better. You will eat a sandwich, and there is a chance your shovel will break. Okay. The next line, cout. You may visit the store to replenish supplies. Prices will vary. Last line, watch out. There are bandits lurking near the store. They may try to rob you. There we go. Okay, so there is our instructions function. So whenever we run the program, and I'm going to run it here just as a quick example, our program is going to start with this set of instructions. Again, void because it's not returning any information. It just does a thing, and we don't have any parameters here because it's going to run the same way regardless of any of the variables, things like that. We could have asked the user, say, for their name beforehand and then sent it to instructions to somehow incorporate that for more personal experience. But this one we're just going to keep as a plain old void function. Okay, so the next part that we're going to do is we're going to do this loop here. So if we take a look at the way that the loop is set up, we obviously don't know how many times it's going to run. And there is a definite until condition. So this is going to be a do loop with a while case. So do rather than a while at the beginning, because guaranteed we're going to be running this one time because the user is starting with sandwiches and shovels. So we're going to do this while sandwiches is larger than 0. And we're also going to keep going while shovels is larger than 0. Okay, and then we can start on the individual components of our program. So the first one that I want to start with is the display day here. So display day is going to work like this. Every time we run through the loop, we will increase the amount of days by 1. The next thing that we're going to do is have a cout line that will display how many days have passed, so technically which day we're on. So this is going to be a cout. Now, we're going to need a little bit of space at various points, so I've got a bunch of end-L commands here that are going to be popping up where you least expect them. So this is going to be day, put a space here, days, and L. There we go. Okay, so every day we're going to display the new day, and then we'll go to the next line. Now, the thing that I really want to get done here so that we can have this loop end, because if we're doing any testing, we're going to want to make sure that the sandwich and shovel amount can be reduced to 0. So the next thing to do is probably get this consume supplies, because that'll be kind of the trigger for that happening. Okay. So under consume supplies, what we're going to do is cout. Every time this happens, you eat a sandwich. And then the result of you eating a sandwich will be sandwiches minus minus. Okay. So every time you go through, you eat a sandwich. Now, there is a chance that you could possibly lose one of your shovels. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to write a function that will control whether or not a shovel breaks. So where we're going to do this is up above main. So now this is, we're going to use this as part of an if statement. So this one is going to act like a Boolean. So this is going to be bool, and we're going to call it shovel break. Now, we don't need any parameters. It's not like more likely to break if you have more shovels, for example. It just is based on a random chance. So you have a chance of your shovel breaking. So we're going to open parentheses. So I'm going to write a code, and then I'm going to remove this and show you a little bit of a better way. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if random modulus 100 plus 1 is larger than or equal to 90. So what this does is kind of like sets up a percentage. So this number can be any number from 1 to 100 as long as it's larger than or equal to 90, so that it'll essentially set up a 10% then we're going to do something. So what we're going to do is we are going to cout your shovel broke. Put an unhappy sign here. It's going to help to put a bunch of extra marks, just sort of like non-text things that'll make some of the elements stand out in the output. So we're going to put an and L here. So your shovel broke, and L, and we are going to return true if this is the case. And then otherwise, else, return false. Okay, so here is the improvement that I want to make on this program is I want to make something that is a little bit easier than this random modulus 100 plus 1, because, you know, if it's not a number from 1 to something, it's a little bit easier, a little bit harder to take a look at that and just immediately see what the random range is, and we are going to have more than one random range here. So what I want to do is I want to make a function called randomnum. So I want to make a function here. So randnum, you can't call it random because that's another built-in function here. So we're going to call it randnum, and then we're just going to return the result of random modulus 100 plus 1. And then here we're going to replace this with randnum. So anytime I see randnum in my code, that is going to be a random number from 1 to 100, and I'll always know that. So this sets up a possibility that your shovel breaks, and then we're going to take care of that in the code here by we're going to say if shovel break. So this will say, like, if this is true, if we got a true out of it, we're going to remove a shovel. So we're going to do shovels minus minus. There we go. So what we'll actually be able to do here is we won't see the individual count every time, but we should be able to end our program. So I'm going to run this as a test. Now, what we get here is a sequence of eating sandwiches. So day 5 should be the day that we eat our last sandwich. It tells us that our shovel broke here. It'll be pretty hard to run out of shovels before you run out of sandwiches, but I suppose it is possible. Oh, there we go. It happened. On day 3, we have broken both of our shovels already. This is some pretty bad luck. And we've only gone through 3 sandwiches. So anyway, this is a good start. Make sure you test your code in this way before moving on to the next step.